Have you ever felt?
Are you listening?
Good afternoon. It's Drive Time with Dave. I'm Dave. I'll be your driver. Today there's no rhyme for today, Thursday. I can tell you there's no rhyme. There's no reason for it. I feel like the world they're out to get me. When you're, the people, there's some joke about being paranoid, and you're only paranoid if they're really out to get you. And I'm like, apparently I'm paranoid today, and they're actually out to get me. I don't know who they are, but they are definitely in hot pursuit. I was like, maybe it's when you're a commodity or something. I'm like, I don't think I'm a commodity, and I'm not sure why they are out to get me, but they're definitely after me. This week, I missed yesterday's video day. It was a tragic. There was a tragedy at work. Dealing with employees is a daunting task. Sometimes I make a joke. I feel like Atlas, and you're carrying the world on your shoulders. Having employees, and each employee has their set of problems, but every employee's problem becomes my problem. And there's nothing I can do about it. Like today I had an employee, his son has pink eye, so he needed to go pick him up. I completely understand. He's like, I don't know what to do. I'm like, don't know what to do about what? And he goes, well, the school just called me and said my son has pink eye, and I need to go pick him up. Well, I'm not sure what decision needs to be made other than you need to go pick your son up. Well, I called my sister to see if she could go pick him up, and she's not answering. Oh, okay. Go pick him up. What's the big deal? All right, you're gonna take him? So he's telling me, yeah, I'll go pick him up. I'll take him home, and I'll be back. Okay. Let's just say he never came back. Okay. Well, it's fine. He had nobody to watch him, so it's fine. I'm very understanding when my employees have problems with their children. I'm less understanding when my employees have problems that they could control. Much, much different situation. When someone can control some aspect of whatever it is that's going on or going wrong, I'm much less understanding. Basically, I'm like, you can deal with this later, right? It's when someone's child is sick and they need to go, because I understand. I have to, when one of my kids are sick, it's time to roll out. We can't, there's no waiting. There's no putting that on hold. But when somebody's brother's, uncle's, aunt's nephew that lives in another state, well, they need to talk. No, they can pick someone else to talk to. Basically, I'm just less understanding, I'm okay understanding when somebody's like, my dog's sick and I got to take my dog to the vet. Okay, all right. Well, it's weird in the middle of the day and you've been at work all day, and then come 2 o'clock, it's, hey, I got a vet appointment. Couldn't you have told me about that yesterday? I mean, didn't you make this appointment? Did you make it this morning and you forgot to tell me? Yeah, no. Sounds a little of excuse. I'm going to make up a word, excusey. That's kind of how I feel today. So, yesterday, the biggest problem in dealing with employees, 2 sides to this, right? There's only 2 sides for me. Everyone has their own opinion about the way to deal with employees, and this is just when an employee cannot do their job. This isn't really about them making excuses or missing time or whatever. When they can't do their job, whether it's physically, emotionally, mentally, whatever, however it is you want to look at it, when they can't do their job, And I have to go and I have to say, hi, it has come to my attention that you are not performing your job functions correctly. You are incapable of doing this job. I'm letting you go. Boom. That's it. It's time to go. Walk you out of the building. Hey, I'm so sorry it didn't work out for you. I don't know why I'm telling you I'm sorry it didn't work out for you. You knew it wasn't working out for you, and you were hoping you could figure out how to do the job, and you just can't do the job. You're letting outside forces get in the way, which goes back to the whether they're making excuses. I had an employee of a lot of years. Let's just say 7 years. And this employee, I have rules for employees that I keep in the back of my head. Things that they do that I consider are an annoyance. But it's not a big enough annoyance that it would never cost someone their job. So I work very hard to help my employees keep their jobs. And I do. I have to work very, very hard and be very understanding. And again, it goes back, they have children, they have pets, they have problems, and you have to help them work through these situations. So I have this employee, and he hasn't been on time for work. He's been on time for work less than he's been late. Maybe I'm saying that right. So he's on time for work one day a month and late the next 19 days, because there's really like 20 working days on average in a month. So, all right. So he's always late. That we count that's an annoyance, but he does a good job. So, see, there's a positive. So he does a really good job. He gets his job done. Okay. So the second annoyance is he actually is not. The annoyance part for me is that he can't come to work on time. He actually annoys other employees. Now that gets into personality conflicts, and that becomes, well, another annoyance for me because I'm constantly having to diffuse these situations. Okay, so that's number 2. So, in the last 3 weeks, he hasn't been able to clock in and out from lunch. So the office manager went and said, hey, is everything okay? She handles things like I direct. I say, when someone's having a hard time, first we want to find out why they're having a hard time, and can I help you work through your problems to help you keep your job? The employee's response was, I can't remember to clock out or clock in from lunch. And it's not going to change. I'm not going to do it. You know when I'm here working. And if you don't pay me for my hours, we'll see what happens. So she come and explained this to me, and I was a little taken back. I was like, wow. Okay. Jan, I'm so sorry that they spoke to you that way. Becky, I'm so sorry they spoke to you that way. Lisa, Linda, I'm so sorry they spoke to you that way. I'm so sorry. So I'm going to go and I'm going to look into it. So before I could go be a detective, so my part-time job is detecting. And then the other part is I'm a psychologist. Interesting. 4 parts. We'll get to the other 2 parts of what I do later. So I'm finishing something that I actually wanted to work on. And all of a sudden I hear down the hallway very loudly some profane language. Profane language. So then I depart my office and I go sailing down the hallway to the assailant. And I say, hey, did I just hear you correctly? It's the same gentleman that just gave the reason that he's not going to clock in and out. Did I just hear what you said correctly? He goes, yes, that's exactly what I said, and he repeated it. And it was profane and very uncalled for. And I said, "You're fired. You have 5 minutes to leave the building." Now, it's complicated because I would like to share what was said so everyone can understand the context. So, as I say, I work hard. It's very difficult to help people keep their jobs. He'd been with me for a very long time. And being able to go to someone who can't do their job and let them go is a part of what I do. You know, letting people go is not easy, right? It's not. Letting someone go because they cannot control their mouth is, listen, I can't even explain it. And it's very upsetting because, and then, you know, the part that this isn't new. I've dealt with this 7 years. I'm always having to go and say, "Hey, can you lower your voice?" He's the kid in class that's talking. He's constantly talking, and the teacher's like, "Little Johnny, I need you to stick a cork in it. You're bothering all the other kids. Okay, I need you to take it down a notch." I mean, it's on a daily basis. I had just hired 2 new employees, 2 ladies in the front office. And the gentleman blurted out, I hate to use this terminology, I hate to put this in a video, and this was difficult for me. He said, "I want to stick a DICK in it." That's what he blurted out very loudly. Well, that's incredibly shocking. Like, of all the profane things that someone could say, are you just cussing? But it was the context in which he used the word DICK. I want to stick a DICK in it. So, loudly. So at that point, that's what caused the alarm. I had to run down to the office, and when he repeated it to me, like, he was very happy that he said it, he immediately lost his job. Well, then he's not accepting the fact that he lost his job, which then I then had to call the sheriff's office and ask for a courtesy escort to remove him from the building because he was not having the fact that he had lost his job. Like, I am not the boss. I'm not the one that signs the checks. I have no idea what I'm talking about. Or at some point in the next 30 seconds, I'm going to change my mind. None of those things happened. I did not change my mind. So, Mr. Employee left before the officer got there. Mr. Employee then proceeded to wait at the end of the street or wherever he was hiding for the officer to leave to come back. Well, that's when things get really, really weird at that point because, well, everybody's aware that he's lost his job and he was carrying his belongings out. And then he came back. Then he comes in and he starts screaming and yelling that it's all my fault. I have now ruined his life. So I had to explain, well, I'm not going to raise my voice because we're not going to get into a yelling match. You're not clear on why you've lost your job. Oh no, he's clear. He knows what he did. Okay, well, the only thing I can say is losing your job is not the end of the world. And your life is not ruined for it. And you can go get another job or you can make some money doing something else. A lot of us do it. Like, but you getting arrested for coming back here, that will ruin your life. But being arrested didn't ruin my life, as I talked about in my last video. But in this case, the reason that he was going to be arrested is going to be the problem. He come back, he was ranting and raving and talking about going and getting a gun. Well, then the situation escalates. So I worked very diligently to diffuse the situation. Listen, I'm not the one that blurted out the profanities in the context that you used them. I'm also not the one that explained to the controller of the company that you're simply not going to clock in and out. And you did all this in the matter of a couple of hours. So clearly you did not want your job anymore. And as much as I can work with someone to help them keep their job, there's a whole lot of lines that were crossed that I can't undo. I can't undo this. And then I've got new women working in the office that heard what you just said. Which, by the way, would open up a whole can of worms and a tremendous amount of liability that I'm like, I don't even need to get into all this with you. Please do yourself a favor and leave now before the officer comes back, because this is going to mess everything up for you. Because now you've come back and you've threatened. You're making threats that you want to do something, and as he's turned around, going back out the door, mumbling about, we'll see what's going to happen. It's not the end of the world. You're making it the end of the world. You had to know at some point what you were doing was going to cause some kind of repercussions. Denying a customer a return, there's going to be repercussions. Your account's going to get dinged, right? Arguing with your wife or your husband over something you've got no business arguing about, it's going to be repercussions. People don't think about the other side when they get angry. I'm not saying that I don't ever get angry. But I don't get angry very often. To a degree of, when I say very often, the last time I probably got angry about something was 20 years ago. And we know exactly when that was, because we've talked about that. So it's difficult because I personally have very little to ever get angry about. Annoyed. I think I get annoyed 100 times a day, and maybe that's the difference, because I have so many things that come at me. The stuff's constantly getting thrown at me. It's easy to learn to deal with all the problems and all the annoyances to where you become immune to it and you don't get angry. So for every individual out there that's starting a new journey, a new path, a new beginning, a new mindset, and things come up, problems arise, difficulties, challenges that you think, this is going to break me. It's not actually going to break you at all. If you can't change it, change your attitude. Immediately, just take a step back, no matter how difficult it is. Whatever you're about to say, stop yourself. Take a deep breath. Sometimes it takes more than a minute. The beautiful part about dealing with customer service, when you're face to face with an irate customer, that is a challenge. And that's a challenge I'm up for. I'm never face to face with these customers, but they do call on the phone. They'll track me down to call me, and I say, okay, well, explain your problem. And as they start explaining the problem, and it's the end of the world, the best excuse that I always get, and they don't realize that I get told how many times so-and-so bought this product for someone's birthday present, and how disappointed they're going to be because that product showed up and it doesn't work, it's not satisfactory, it doesn't fit, it's not right, it's the wrong color, I shipped them the wrong thing. And I say, gosh, that's what your problem is? They get so insulted. What do you mean that's what my problem is? Wow. Well, gosh, we can fix that so easy. And then it's, you can? Absolutely. You called me? Absolutely. I can fix. Listen, you took the time to track me down. Did you think I wasn't going to fix your problem? Did you really? Are you just upset about something? Is there anything else that you'd like to talk about? Because you've got me on the phone now, and I'm more than happy to listen. Sometimes these people will go on and on and on about things you can't even imagine. I had a woman over an iPod call me that some boy stole her daughter's iPod. He sold it through somebody that sold it through somebody. And I ended up with this iPod. And how the whole thing started was because it come up and said, this iPod belongs to this girl. So at that point, it's, you know, it's got the information in the iPod. It'll have the phone number. It says, if lost, call this number. So I called, and this woman was so angry that I had stolen this iPod from her. And I said, does it seem reasonable that I stole the iPod and then decide to call you back? Oh, I've got a hero complex. I stole the iPod because I want to be a hero in your eyes. And she goes, that's ridiculous. I know! That's awesome, right? So that means I'm not the thief. I'm the guy that paid for this stolen iPod that I did not know was stolen. So she said, well, I'm going to call my local sheriff's office and because I need to get that iPod back. And I said, I completely understand. I paid $25 for this iPod. All I need is my $25 back. And you can have the iPod. Well, that's ridiculous, and you're just going to send it to me. Yeah, probably not going to do that. As much as I want you and your daughter to have this iPod back, I'm still out $25. Now, granted, think about this conversation, this crazy conversation that I'm having with this woman on the phone for at least 10 minutes of her arguing with me. It's cost me more than any $25. But because she decided that she was going to berate me, call me a thief, I decided it was going to cost her $25. And then I proceeded to explain to her that it was not the item she was paying for, it was my time. Then she proceeded to explain to me that she didn't think my time was worth $25. So before we go full circle, I said, have the detective call me. She goes, that's fine, I will. About 2 hours later, Detective Rodriguez from the Alabama whatever town sheriff's department calls me up. Hi, this is Detective Rodriguez. Hi. I understand you have the iPod. I do. And Miss Brown says you're not going to return it until she gives you $25 for the item. And I said, well, detective, that's partially correct. The $25 is for my time. And he goes, oh, she didn't tell me that. Were you clear about that? I absolutely was clear about that. I clearly explained to her that the $25 was my time, that I had to call her, negotiate with her, and I said, and she berated me. She called me a thief. She said, I'm the one that stole the iPod, went into some situation about that I'm trying to be a hero. I'm not the little boy that stole the iPod that's trying to date her daughter, if that's the question. So it was pretty funny. She paid me the $25. I'm Dave. This was Drive Time. I'll see you soon.